Here's an MCAS prep video going over some fiction reading strategies. As we read fiction, we read with the 3 C's in mind: characterization, conflict and resolution, and change. We can use these 3 C's as a pathway to finding out the theme. A reminder that theme is a universal message the author is giving the reader. We track the 3 C's in our 2-column notes: evidence on the left and your coded margin notes on the right. So let's see how it looks. In Chapter 9 of A Long Walk to Water, we find an example of the 3 C's. We see a conflict. This is a big problem. Salva's trying to get through the desert and he's struggling. You see my note here. My evidence is on the left. My note is on the right. Conflict. Salva struggling through harsh desert conditions. Okay, but then we see how the conflict is resolved or addressed. His uncle encourages him by setting small goals along the way. He says things like, hey, can you just make it to those bushes over there? Those aren't that far. He gets to the bushes, and then his uncle says, oh, can you make it to those rocks? So on until he gets through the desert. That's my resolution note. See it on the right. Salva's uncle helps him through the desert by setting small or manageable goals. Okay. Now to find the theme, I might ask myself, what message is the author trying to give me, the reader, based off how that conflict was resolved? I think the author's trying to tell me that we can overcome enormous challenges by setting small goals. Look at my theme note down at the bottom. It's based off that. Okay, we can also find theme by using characterization. Reminder, characterization, we track it by using SLATE. S-L-A-T-E, SLATE. Speech, looks, actions, thoughts, and effects on others. Those are clues that help describe characters. So here's another example from the following chapter. Right after they get through the desert, Salva's uncle tells him, hey, once we get to the refugee camp, I'm going to leave you. And Salva reacts strongly to that. He says, oh, uncle, but I'll have no one. Who will be my family? He's very upset to think that he might be left alone. He's afraid. So I write a characterization note. I capitalize the S in SLATE because I think it's his speech that mostly shows that. And Salva's dependent and fearful of having to survive without his uncle's support. Now, in the following chapter, right after his uncle has been tragically murdered, the other boys are not being kind to Salva. They're kind of disregarding him. And Salva thinks to himself, there's no one left to help me. They think I'm weak and useless. But then he lifts his head proudly. They're wrong, he thinks, and I'll prove it. This shows a character change. He wasn't feeling brave before. He was scared to be on his own. Now he's feeling resolved and courageous. So I write a character change note. You see SLATE change. I capitalize the T in SLATE because it's his thoughts right here that gives me the idea. And my note says Salva's finding a newfound courage and self-reliance after his uncle's murder. I've written a note because I see a major change in his character. Now I ask myself, how has the main character changed? Based off that, what lesson did he learn? Or, what message is the author trying to give me, the reader? That's the theme. I think the author is trying to tell me that tragedy can push us to find inner strength that we hadn't realized before. That's my theme. You see it at the bottom. So you just got a little taste of the 3 C's: characterization, conflict and resolution, and change. And to see how we can use the 3 C's to track them as a pathway to find the theme. All right, let's practice.